Hello, everyone. It's so nice to see you and spend some time with you again. I'm Christopher, and I work at the library telling stories and doing other fun things. And I've got a great story time for you today. Before I get started, though, some of you may know how I like to begin. It's with a little song called Clap Everybody, and it goes like this. Clap everybody and say hello, say hello, say hello. Clap everybody and say hello. Welcome to story time. That was pretty easy, wasn't it? Do you think that you could help clap along with me while I play on my banjo? Let's give it a try. Clap everybody and say hello, say hello, say hello. Clap everybody and say hello. Welcome to story time. Do some of you know how to say hello in any other languages? I'm sure that you do. But since I can't ask you in person, I've prepared some that I think you'll enjoy. The first one is from a language called Anishinaabemowin, and hello is bonjour. Ready? Clap everybody and say bonjour, say bonjour, say bonjour. Clap everybody and say bonjour. Welcome to story time. Let's do Greek. It's yasas. Clap everybody and say yasas, say yasas, say yasas. Clap everybody and say yasas. Welcome to story time. I think we've got time for one more. Let's do Korean. Annyeong. Ready? Clap everybody and say annyeong, say annyeong, say annyeong. Clap everybody and say annyeong. Welcome to story time. Welcome everyone. It's so nice to be with you today. And I think before we get into our stories, we need to get some blood moving and some exercise in. And you know how I like to do that? It's with the Grand Old Duke of York. Will you join me? And if you don't know it now, you will by the time we're done. And it goes like this. The Grand Old Duke of York, he had 10,000 men. He marched them up to the top of the hill, and he marched them down again. And when you're up, you're up. And when you're down, you're down. And when you're only halfway up, you're neither up or down. All right, do you have it? Okay, here we go. The Grand Old Duke of York, he had 10,000 men. He marched them up to the top of the hill, and he marched them down again. And when you're up, you're up. And when you're down, you're down. And when you're only halfway up, you're neither up or down. I think that we can go a little bit faster, don't you think? Well, let's give it a try. The Grand Old Duke of York, he had 10,000 men. He marched them up to the top of the hill, and he marched them down again. And when you're up, you're up. And when you're down, you're down. And when you're only halfway up, you're neither up or down. Super fast this time. The Grand Old Duke of York, he had 10,000 men. He marched them up to the top of the hill, and he marched them down again. And when you're up, you're up. And when you're down, you're down. And when you're only halfway up, you're neither up or down. All right. That was great. Well, I've got some great stories for you today, and they all begin with the letter R. Do you know any words that start with R? I can think of a couple. There is rectangle. That's a good word. And there is right. That's a good word. But we don't have any stories about rectangles or right or other R words. We do have stories today about royalty. So, all about princes and princesses and kings and lots of other royalty. Well, just those three, actually. All right, let's get to it. Our first story is a classic, The Paper Bag Princess, and it's by Bob Munch and Michael Marchenko. Now, once upon a time, there was a princess, and her name was Elizabeth. I forgot one detail. So, Elizabeth lived in the castle, and she was very lovely, and she lived a charmed, wonderful life. She was supposed to marry the equally lovely Ronald. Well, Ronald spent a lot of his time playing and looking in the mirror and wearing fancy clothes. And Elizabeth thought, well, this is not so bad. Until one day, a dragon came. And the dragon came and breathed fire all over the castle and gobbled up the sheep, and Elizabeth was left with no clothes and a ruined house, and the dragon had taken Ronald away as a prisoner. Well, Elizabeth wondered, what can I do? I'm here. I've got no fancy clothes to put on. Everything's burned up. Ronald's gone. I'm going to have to rescue him myself. Well, she looked around. She couldn't find anything to wear except for a paper bag. So she cut out a paper bag and made a little dress out of it and some clothes, and she was off. Now, it was easy to see where the dragon was because there was a scorched trail behind him. And when she got to the dragon's cave, she knocked on the door. And the dragon said, "Who's there?" And Elizabeth said, "It's me. I heard you're the smartest, fastest, strongest dragon in the land." And he stuck his head out and said, "Yeah, that's me." Well, Elizabeth thought, and she said, "I've got a challenge for you. I heard that you are so strong and fiery and brave that you can burn up this forest. Is that true? With one breath of your fiery breath?" And the dragon said, "That's easy." And Elizabeth said, "Let's see it." And so that dragon took in a deep breath, and all the flames came out until he was quite tired. And Elizabeth said, "Let's see that again." And he took a deep breath, and nothing came out this time. The dragon said, I've got to regain some of my fiery breath energy." And Elizabeth said, "Dragon, if you're so strong and powerful and fast, let's see you run to that lake and back 10 times. Well, the dragon took off because he was not one to avoid a challenge, and he went running and running and running, and he came back. He was tired out. And Elizabeth said, "Aha. Dragon, why don't you take a little rest right now?" And the dragon said, "Okay." That dragon was out cold. Well, Elizabeth knew just what to do. She went back into the cave, and there was Ronald. She was ready to rescue him. And she said, "Ronald, Ronald, I've come to rescue you." And there was Ronald, wearing his finest clothes, with a tennis racket, looking in the mirror. And he said, "Oh, brother, Elizabeth, you are quite a fright. You smell of soot. You're wearing a paper bag. Your hair is all a mess. You are not much of a princess. Come back when you are dressed more appropriately." Well, Elizabeth thought, I'm not much for that after I just rescued you. She said, "Ronald, you have pretty clothes and your hair is very nice, but you are a bum, and therefore I don't think I need to marry you." And she didn't. The end. Thank you so much for listening. That's a wonderful story, isn't it? All right. I think it's time for a brand new song. I've never done this song for you, but I'd like to give it a try today. And it goes like this. It's called either Low Bridge, Everybody Down, or the Erie Canal. I'm sure it has other fun names too, but let's give it a try. Oh, I got a mule and her name is Sal. 15 miles on the Erie Canal. She's a good old worker and a good old pal. 15 miles on the Erie Canal. We've hauled some barges in our day, filled with lumber, coal, and hay, and we know every inch of the way from Albany to Buffalo. Oh, Low Bridge, everybody down. Low Bridge, 'cause we're coming to a town, and you'll always know your neighbor, you'll always know your pal if you've ever navigated on the Erie Canal. Get up there, Sal, we passed that lock. 15 miles on the Erie Canal, and we'll make room for 6 o'clock. 15 miles on the Erie Canal, just one more trip and back we'll go. Through the rain and sleet and snow, 'cause we know every inch of the way from Albany to Buffalo. Oh, Low Bridge, everybody down. Low Bridge, 'cause we're coming to a town, and you'll always know your neighbor, you'll always know your pal if you ever navigated on the Erie Canal. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. I think I did. All right, I've got another book for you here. It's one that one of my storyteller friends introduced me to, and I hope you'll enjoy it today. It's called The End by David La Rochelle and Richard Igelski. And it goes like this. The End. That's a funny first page. And they all lived happily ever after. They lived happily ever after because The soggy knight fell in love with the clever princess. The knight fell in love with the princess because she poured a big bowl of lemonade on top of his head. She poured a big bowl of lemonade on top of his head because the knight's curly red hair was on fire. His curly red beard was on fire because he had been tickling a great green dragon. He had been tickling a great green dragon because the dragon would not stop crying. The dragon would not stop crying because 100 bunny rabbits had hopped into his cave and frightened him. 100 bunny rabbits had hopped into the dragon's cave because they were trying to escape an enormous tomato rolling down the hill. An enormous tomato was rolling down the hill because it had been hit by a flying teacup. It had been hit by a flying teacup because a hungry giant was throwing a temper tantrum. The giant was throwing a temper tantrum because the cook did not make lemon cheesecake for dessert. The cook did not make lemon cheesecake for dessert because there were no lemons left at the market. And there were no lemons left at the market because once upon a time, a clever princess decided to make a big bowl of lemonade. And there's the last picture. The end. Or is it the beginning? I hope you enjoyed that. That's a really fun story. All right, we have got some time for some dancing. Who wants to dance? I do. Well, Dragon wants to dance, and I hope you do too. Ready? Oh, dance any way you want to, dance any way you please, dance any way you want to, but stop when I say freeze. Oh, hop any way you want to, hop any way you please, hop any way you want to, but stop when I say freeze. Ready? Swim any way you want to, swim any way you please, swim any way you want to, but stop when I say freeze. Oh boy, I'm tired, aren't you, Dragon? Yeah, pretty tired. Oh. Sleep any way you want to, sleep any way you please, sleep any way you want to, but stop when I say freeze. You woke me up with all that yelling. Okay. All right, that's a great song. Now I've got one more story for you today. Let's see if I can find it. It's called Bring Me a Rock by Daniel Miaris. All right. Now, once upon a time, there was a pretty bossy king. And this king loved to order everyone else around in the insect kingdom. And so this king one day found a nice perch to be on. And from that high area, the king could look out and see who was doing what and who was working and who was resting. But most of all, the king loved to give orders. Hey there, down there! You need to work harder! Harder! And while you're at it, because the king had a clever idea, bring me a rock! Well, everyone stopped what they were doing, and the king demanded more and more rocks. Well, Butterfly came by. Bringing another rock. It was pretty hard because, butterflies can't carry rocks very well. And Butterfly dropped off a rock. And so the king's tower was getting taller, and the king was up there, and the king said, "Hey there, you! I want to be taller. Bring me a rock." Well, everyone stopped what they were doing, and Dragonfly wanted to help. So Dragonfly brought a big rock for the king and stacked it on his tower. Well, now the tower was getting pretty tall and a bit tippy. But still the king was not satisfied, and he said, "Hey, bring me a rock!" He wanted to be taller still. And who was next? Bee heard the command of the king, and so Bee came by. And Bee brought another rock for the king. Wow. The tower was getting quite tippy at this time, and the king was still not satisfied, and he said, "Hey, down there, bring me another rock!" Well, finally, little Firefly came by with a small little pebble that you could hardly even see, because Firefly was so tiny. But Firefly wanted to help and contribute. But you know what that mean king said? "Oh, brother, that's hardly anything at all. Now bring me a rock." Well, Firefly, feeling very bad, left. But just then, the whole tower that the king was on began to tip because some of the rocks were not very steady, and the king said, "Help me!" Well, Firefly heard and thought, I know just what this tower needs. A little pebble at the bottom to stabilize it. And indeed, that little pebble did exactly that. And the king's tower stayed upright. Well, the king had one thing to say. You can have whatever you want. I'll give it to you. And the little firefly thought and thought and said, You know, what I would like most is if you would bring me a rock. And the king was not very happy about that, but he had to do it. And so in the end, there was the king on one rock. There was the bee on another rock. There was Firefly on a rock. There was Butterfly on a rock. And there was beautiful Dragonfly perched on a rock. And they were all the same height. The end. Thank you for listening. All right, I think it's time now for the pirate song. Are you ready? I am. When I was one, I sucked my thumb on the day I went to sea. I jumped aboard a pirate ship and the captain said to me, Oh, you'll go this way, that way, forwards, backwards, over the deep blue sea. When I was 2, I tied my shoe on the day I went to sea. I jumped aboard a pirate ship and the captain said to me, Oh, you'll go this way, that way, forwards, backwards, over the deep blue sea. When I was 3, I tapped my knee on the day I went to sea. I jumped aboard a pirate ship and the captain said to me, Oh, you'll go this way, that way, forwards, backwards, over the deep blue sea. All right. I think it's just about time for Knees Up Mother Brown. All right. And I have my friend Pierre right here, who we know is good at some things and not good at others. So let's start. And you'll just have to hear the tapping and imagine the dancing, okay? There was a girl from France who didn't know how to dance. The only thing that she could do was knees up, Mother Brown. Oh, knees up, Mother Brown. Knees up, Mother Brown. Knees up, never let the breeze up. Knees up, Mother Brown, and sit back down. There was a princess with common sense who knew all about self-reliance. The only thing that she could do was knees up, Mother Brown. Oh, knees up, Mother Brown. Knees up, Mother Brown. Knees up, never let the breeze up. Knees up, Mother Brown, and sit back down. Oh, King Grasshopper wanted a tower, but the workers wanted to share the power. The only thing that he could do was knees up, Mother Brown. Oh, knees up, Mother Brown. Knees up, Mother Brown. Knees up, never let the breeze up. Knees up, Mother Brown. And sit back down for our last verse. There was a teeny tiny man who loved to do handstands. Will this work? Not too well. He loved to do handstands. Let's see if he can do it today. Oh, not today. The only thing that he could do was knees up, Mother Brown. Oh, knees up, Mother Brown. Knees up, Mother Brown. Knees up, never let the breeze up. Knees up, Mother Brown. And super fast. Knees up, Mother Brown. Knees up, Mother Brown. Knees up, never let the breeze up. Knees up, Mother Brown. All right. Wiggle, wiggle fingers right up to the sky. Wiggle, wiggle fingers and wave them all goodbye. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you next time.